Well, awesome. We've got a fun show today.
I think so.
It's it's we have a focused topic for a group who may, I don't know, I'll let them tell their story, but should we just introduce them and then we can kind of jump in? It's going to be
Yeah.
all about ADHD and coding and how the two are married and how they work together. Let's bring on, first of all, Stephanie Lupien, who was with us just a couple weeks ago. We'll bring them all out. And
We've we've got the
sorry,
whole
go
hour
ahead,
for
Al.
this, Dave.
What's that?
So we got the whole hour for
We got the
this.
whole hour. Oh, so let's
Yeah.
get comfortable. All right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Hey, if that's the case, I should grab my water wherever that went to. All right. So there you go. All right. So we've got Stephanie who was with us just a few weeks ago, and we had an awesome discussion with her. It was her first time. And Stephanie, I don't know if you were nervous, but you wanted to kind of like go over things with us in advance and just make sure everything felt good. How did it go?
I mean, I was so glad this time that was kind of like already there. So it's a little better. Because oftentimes when I don't know the situation I'm getting in, the expectations I can set in for myself, or as being someone with ADHD, insert foot into mouth is a real problem.
Right. Yeah. That
And
that could happen
coming
easily.
into a career, a professional career, where for most of my life I've been surrounded with either children or well seasoned individuals, and the way they speak and think, I've never offended anyone in
Right.
those spaces. And yet that could easily change in this
So
one.
all of those
So
things,
I appreciate it.
yeah, that's good. All those things play into how you feel going into this conversation that we're having with a big audience, right? Um, but you did awesome. And after that, we enjoyed it so much, and I think you enjoyed it so much that you said, "Hey, you offered, I think, to come back on," and we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And
You
then you
asked
said,
me to
"Yeah."
come back, and I'll be honest,
You said
every
yes.
fiber of my being wanted to say no. I'm like, are you kidding?
Oh,
They're loony. Are you kidding? They want me back? And then instead, because of my ADHD or whatever it is, I'm like, can I invite some friends? Because you're like, we got to talk about ADHD. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got some friends. Like
yeah.
that was the thing. And I'm not alone anymore. Like I have some friends here. So uh yeah, it'll be
So
great.
awesome. So who did you bring with us then? Let's let you introduce the friends that you chose or brought with or whatever, and tell us why you
Well, waiting
give
for
us a
Kaitlyn
little
to
bit of
come,
why you
but
brought them, and then we'll let them introduce a little bit about themselves as well.
Revka I met while I was in college. While I was in college, still trying to figure out what medical coding was. Like I'm like haven't even opened up my first coding book yet. And one of the consensus is get on LinkedIn, start networking with people in the career that you're going to be entering. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like solid advice. And Rivka was one of the first people that I had kind of engaged with and connected with. And then we connected outside of LinkedIn and we became friends. And she's been a sounding board. Like we both have wild and awesome ideas and bouncing them off each other and just giving each other a little bit of clarity or even just a different perspective of how things look or can be because we're in a world of impossibilities being real. That's true. And then to find out that she's a fellow citizen of heaven, like follower of Christ, like that was something to me coming into healthcare that I was worried was going to be void, that it was going to be absent. And then coming into a lot of people who are not afraid to thank God for the blessings in their life. And I'm like, you know what? This is exactly what's happening. And then Jessica, I met her just a year ago, like barely a year ago, I think this month. I was going through my connections because on LinkedIn, I'm very intentional and it takes a while for me to accept a connection request because that means I'm accepting a connection, a relationship, messaging each other, actually giving each other permission to engage with each other. So I don't accept a connection request without actually messaging you when I do. And so first time I messaged Jessica, it was my long novel and including I might not get back to you for like days, weeks, or months. It depends on my brain and life in front of me. I'm sorry. And her response, my brain was like, I gotta know her. Like it wasn't even like my brain was like, I gotta know her. Next thing you know, we find out our daughters are like days apart, like the same age but days apart.
Oh, wow.
And same thing when we start talking about things or topics. I don't know, when a neurodivergent brain hangs out with another neurodivergent brain, great things happen. And I've just been so blessed that they've been part of my life. Kaitlyn may come, and if she comes, she was the first person that I heard neurospicy from. I'd never heard the word neurospicy. And not only did she join in on Zoom to help show me a presentation that I missed, but she allowed me to invite a friend from college who was also on the process and go through mentorship and the importance of mentor-mentee relationships. And she was the first one that kind of solidified that this career can lead to a six-figure income. I had heard like, a decade or so in this career, you can have six-figure income. She had done it in 7.
That's
Like if
awesome.
impossible realities can be possible, well, she's proof that it's happening. And so knowing that, I'm like, yeah, if she can come, that would be great too.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that she can. I'm
Yeah,
hoping somewhere, somehow she,
I I texted
what,
her.
Rika?
I
Oh,
Oh,
texted her,
awesome. Cool.
and
So we'll
she,
see.
yes, she'll be here shortly. I
Awesome.
think she got the time mixed up. She was like, "What time are you
Oh,
going to log in?" I'm like, we're live now."
yay.
So it'll be
cool.
fine.
Well,
That's
if you're
amazing.
listening, Kaitlyn, just hop right in and we'll just she's great. She can handle it. Kaitlyn was
Yeah.
she was with AAPC for a while, a long time. Kaitlyn's great. Well, okay, so thank you, Stephanie, for giving us an introduction of who you chose and why you chose them, and love that. Let's have Rivka introduce. Do you want to introduce yourself and kind of tell us about your experience in the industry and what kind of brings you here?
Sure. My name is Revka Stearns. If you've seen me online, you probably thought it was Revka because it's Revka, but yes, long E, Hebrew for Rebecca. I always get that question, so let's get that out of the way.
Great.
Um, I actually was an entrepreneur for 30 years, and I started out teaching piano when I was 16, pivoted into website design and development, and then it went to metalsmithing and used book sales. None of them related, right?
Love that.
ADHD.
Metalsmithing is like, are we talking swords and armor and
No,
okay,
jewelry,
yeah.
ornaments, keychain, creating my own designs, cutting everything out, firing it,
Oh,
hammering it,
cool.
all that stuff. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
So
But
cool.
yeah, so I did that. I have 5 children with my husband, and I homeschooled them. I actually have 2 I'm still homeschooling. 3 of them graduated, and by that point, I was so fed up with the administrative headaches that I was like, I want to do something else. I want to work for somebody. I don't want to have to deal with all the, taxes, record keeping. I just want to work. And so I ended up pivoting into this field. I did my education in 2023, and I didn't know if I wanted outpatient or inpatient. I had done my research and knew those were the 2 main types of coding. And so I got certified for both. And by the end of my education, I knew that I wanted inpatient because ICD-10 PCS, the way that is constructed, really fit my brain. And my brain with the ADHD has to be engaged. And I had heard some of the um, more common entry level types of coding are very repetitive. That wouldn't work for me. And I knew inpatient coding is more challenging. And so I was very happy when I did actually land that as my first position. And I've been working as an inpatient coder for 2 years now. I'm up to inpatient coder 3, which I'm just delighted. It's been a really good field for me.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, and what an interesting history too, all these different places.
Nothing
But
connected.
yeah, no, yeah, maybe not on the surface, right? And we'll
Lived
talk more.
experience matters.
Yeah,
Lived
we'll
experience matters.
live.
And being an adult in the field is also highly valuable.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about your connection to the PCS and how that fit your brain and all that. So want to hear more about that, definitely. Let's go to Jessica. Jessica, introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Hi, so I'm Jessica Wecker, and I've been working as a coder now, not quite a year yet. I studied exercise science when I was in college and needed an active life, which led me to being a yoga teacher. I loved people. That led me to being an acrobatic yoga teacher, and I had a background in gymnastics and movement. Did that for a while. Had my daughter, got really into just being a mother, homeschool educating, like Revka was talking about, studied Waldorf and did a lot of those things. So interestingly enough, ADHD sort of brought me to medical coding. And the reason I say that is I was having a lot of headaches, which seems unrelated. However, right around that time, a lot of my family members were becoming known as having ADHD. So it was surrounding me, and I started to study it a little bit more. And through my studies, I learned about the prevalence of binocular vision dysfunction in people with ADHD. And when I made that connection and got myself checked out, I found out that I had vertical heterophoria, which is so the two eyes aren't working quite right together. And when you put the prisms on, it fixes it. So I got myself treated for that. And it was a big light bulb moment because I had 20/20 vision. So why would I need glasses? But after getting that treatment, I was able to immerse myself back in the world of reading and how much I loved reading. Cool. And being able to look at screens again and not have issues with it. And fortuitously, I learned about medical coding from a friend of mine, went to school in 2024 and just have never looked back. It combines all of my interests in a neat little package.
Love that. That's so cool. And such a varied background. So each one of you have such interesting hobbies and backgrounds, some commonalities. All three of you are mothers and you all express that. And I think that's so cool. And all three of you found ways to channel your ADHD into something that it works great for you. And this is basically what we're going to be talking about this entire time now. So the topic, if anybody just jumped on and is wondering what we're talking about, is going to be about ADHD and how making medical coding and ADHD work together. And so today we want to be sensitive to where everybody's at on in their own medical history or whatever diagnoses we might have, all of that. We just want to have an open discussion and talk about experiences, things that have worked, maybe things that haven't worked, but just see if we can find some fun kind of things, really stories that we can kind of share and some people out there might be able to relate and gain something from it. So, but I'm curious, Alex, do you have anybody that you know that's diagnosed ADHD or because I'm not diagnosed.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean, you know,
Yeah.
Are you
I
saying
have
you're
my
noticeably
suspicions.
squirrely?
What's that?
Are you saying you're noticeably squirrely?
I can be. I don't know. I cover a wide spectrum, I think, depending on my mood. Anyway, what about you, Alex?
Well, I've never been diagnosed, but my daughter has, and like from her middle school years through high school, we were trying to figure out, does she have anxiety or what, like the doctors are trying to figure everything out. But just in her senior year or so, she's diagnosed with ADHD. And so she's been on that journey the past 2 years. And as I've seen what she deals with, I'm like, oh, because like that's me. Like we've always known that we are two peas in a pod. We are so similar in so many ways, and so all of this is like, so I relate to it so much. I've never been diagnosed, but now when I just like all of us, like okay, ADHD, hyper focused on ADHD now and studying it and trying to peel back the layers and watching every video and reading every book
Right,
you
we
can.
label it, yeah, dive into
Yep.
that thing. Yeah.
Totally dive in. And I've always had that. Like if I'm in it, I am in it 1,000%. Like the things that I love. If I'm not, like school was so hard for me. I could sit through a classroom and it would just go by, but I would have this great vision of me doing whatever, like whatever passion, hobby. Yeah, there you go. Really, it was
Drumming
that.
on
It was
stage,
that.
just like whoop,
It was
twirling your
that.
stick.
But so
drumstick.
now I'm using these tools over the even within the last month or so, guys. I've implemented new ADHD type of tools that I've learned from like the ADHD subreddit. I mean, I'm learning so much, and I'm like, my life it just keeps getting better. My only regret is that I didn't know about this sooner. But what do you do?
That's why we're here, right? We're
Yep.
You
learning.
grow.
Yeah, you grow. I'm learning too. Having not been diagnosed or not having anybody in my family, it's a little more, I come from more of a lack of understanding about it or lack of familiarity with it. So there's just that. But then being around people or having friends that I know that will claim that or say that they have ADHD, right? Everybody loves to claim it, right? Oh, it's my ADHD, right? But I don't know. I'm excited to have more conversation about this. Stephanie, you have something to say about for anybody who's out there who's like me, who's less familiar with it. Could you give us a good description of what it might feel like, what it might look like? Alex kind of did a bit about his daughter and his own experience.
I think that's a very broad topic because it is different for many of us, and especially because ADHD can be more than just ADHD. There is like ADHD where you have autism and you're partially on the spectrum, and you have ADHD, or some of the traits of autism that aren't ADHD often overlap, and often those who are diagnosed with ADHD may not be diagnosed with autism, not because they don't have autism, but because the focus it was kind of just like let's get the biggest fire off the plate. um and it
Yeah.
also is challenging if you grew up knowing that you had ADHD and those supports and the tools that are available for that, versus being a full grown adult with 5 kids and then learning you have ADHD because you think you're drowning. That was my case. Like I'd already had 5 kids,
Okay.
and my doctor had been trying to get me tested for almost 5 years, and I was like, no, 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 because growing up in California, I had the understanding that you don't want to have ADHD, you don't want to have your kids with ADHD. That's a problem. They're not going to succeed. And kind of anyone that I knew with ADHD struggled really hard growing up, and so that was my understanding. I came from that. That's bad. Like it's like taboo. You don't that you don't want that. So when my doctor was trying to push for me to be diagnosed, I'm like, you're crazy. No, it's something else. So like trying the anxiety, the depression, the your life's just too full. You have too many fires. Calm down. And that's an unreal expectation when you have 5 kids and ADHD that you don't know that you have.
Yeah, because you can't just stop what you're doing, right? You can't just,
Right?
okay, well, do I just stop what I'm doing
Like you
and
can, but then you don't
maybe
realize
take
how
some
many other
breaths?
lives are relying on you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's hard.
And that is a struggle, especially for those with ADHD, is to say no, or to have those boundaries, or to be able to keep those boundaries, because we may say no because at this moment we can't do it, but all of a sudden we're on our way to this appointment. It didn't take as long as we thought. Well, that 5 minute side quest that someone asked for your help with, well, now you can do it, even though you really shouldn't, because you're just like, by the time you get home you're frazzled.
Right.
And um so kind of working through that is something I think that if you are diagnosed with ADHD, making sure that you broaden your support circle, have a therapist, have a psychiatrist, have people in your life that will support you and understand when things are just not happening the way they need to happen. If you don't have a diagnosis of ADHD and you feel like either you can relate to someone with ADHD or you're unsure of how to handle someone with ADHD, well, then just take the opportunity to get to know other people with ADHD or autism or whatever it is, because often there is so much more that we have in common than we have differently. Just because we think differently and maybe behave differently, we are all humans and we all have experiences on this side of eternity that matter.
Yeah.
And I think just connecting with others, and allowing yourself to build relationships with others is highly impactful.
Yeah. Cool. Alex, anything on the chat that you're seeing there? Just curious if anybody's jumped in there.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
got a
the comments are great. Just so many different. This connects with a lot of people, guys. Just I'm mostly just seeing people like, well, Talia, our unicorn friend. If you know her, you know her. She says knowing you have it is half the battle. The other half is gaining the tools to manage it. My daughter's diagnosis led to mine, and we navigate our struggles and wins together. It's been life-changing for us. Then Julie Miller, she says anxiety and depression here, while finally kicking to depression. I feel like just being able to open up and talk about it, whether you have ADHD or not, or some other challenge, is just this is just like a big therapy session, guys. This session today is a big hug.
Yeah, exactly. I live in an RV, so I need it too. Like, come on, let's get real. Um, well, love those comments. Yeah, and we want it to feel like it's open and yeah, that's wanna just talk about it and find some working solutions and to know that you're not alone. I love the comment that said that her daughter and I manage it together, right? Find people that you can manage these things with. My thought is, Stephanie, as you were talking and you were talking about all the things that you have to do as a mother, and it's like you can't just stop what you're doing. So how do you find the balance in that? And my thought was just energy flow, right? There's only so much energy. Guess who just joined our session?
Yay.
Speaking of energy, Kaitlyn Young has just
She's got some
entered.
energy. I love it.
So let's let her in and she can say hi. But I was thinking energy, inflow equals outflow. So do you just feel exhausted? Because when you're going, that's all energy. Where do you find your recharging or do you not? Hi, Caitlin.
That that's still something that a lot of us still struggle with. And I mean, once I started looking at it as energy, I only have so much energy. Or my sister, she related it to spoons. For those of us with ADHD or
Yep, I've
neurodivergence,
heard
you're
that.
only allowed so many spoons a day. You wake up with this many spoons just to like get dressed and brush your teeth. You're spending multiple spoons before you even start your day. You don't have any spoons left, and we're drawing from invisible spoons. Um, but looking at it as energy and what am I willing to dedicate my energy to? Like dressing up professionally with like an over things like that. That was not something I was going to have energy for today. So, so where I thought about it, I also had the thought, not today.
Yeah, you have to prioritize, allocate energy, I would think, and probably have to be even better at it, knowing that your energy can quickly get eaten up without you maybe even knowing it because of, I don't know, I'm just
The support tools like
guessing.
Google Calendar for me is like life or death. Like if I were to have to go to a flip phone now, I would probably lose my mind because I instead of a planner where a lot of us will write in our paper planner when it doesn't have reminders, it doesn't have notifications. It's not going to let me know that I have something coming up that I'm not looking forward to. I will set reminders for things I'm looking forward to and I'm not looking forward to because it is an energy shift and a mind adjustment. Like I really
It
don't want
is.
to do it, but I have to. So prepare in advance
Yeah, just
or
I
be
actually
excited about what's coming up
I
because
love that. Yeah. To prep yourself for the things that you're going to do, but you don't necessarily want to. I like that because it does. It's a mind shift, and if you can do it, it's easier to handle it mentally. Gosh, probably all the ways. All right, well, let's say hi to Caitlin. She just joined us. Caitlin, you can unmute yourself
Caitlin.
and say hello.
Hey, I'm so sorry. Funny enough, um, time is not my best friend. And I got the times completely mixed up, and so I apologize.
Hey, that's okay. No, we're just glad you're here. And we're talking about ADHD. So would it have anything to do with that, or is it?
Absolutely. I think one of my bigger struggles is a concept of I have no concept of time. And Dave, I think you and I talked about that previously. Just it's to me, time is so
Hard thing.
fluid, and I always think I have more time than what I do, and I think today showed that I definitely did not.
Oh no. Well, like I said, we're just glad you're here, and we've kind of been going around. We kind of open things up just to have a really just open discussion about ADHD and about medical coding, but about finding ways that I mean these things aren't. I mean, we say disorder. That just means it's abnormal, right? It's out of order. That doesn't mean it's broken or wrong. It's a disorder. How can we use these things to make some order? I think it's this transmutation process, right? So that's what
Yes.
we're talking about is how can we take this disorder, right? That has such negative connotation. I don't know why we even call it that. Let's call it a gift. This superpower. How can we take this and utilize it in a space like medical coding? So that's kind of what we're doing.
I think anyone with ADHD, you can anybody can chime in here. I think we call it hyper focus. So from a medical coding, billing, auditing standpoint, um, so one of the things I highly disagree with on the DSM-5 criteria, which is how you get diagnosed with ADHD, is that there is a complete inability to pay attention or to focus, and that's not true. Um, we just can't focus or pay attention to anything that we don't want to or that doesn't interest us. So one of the bigger, I'm gonna call it a gift or a superpower of ADHD, is when you find that thing that really resonates with you, that clicks with you, you do everything in your power to be the very best at it. And so if you can find even a specific specialty or a skill within coding that you can really put all your energy toward, that's the direction that you need to go. That's where you're going to be the most successful.
Cool. Love it. Yeah, being able to focus it, right? Well, and whether or not we have this, or have been diagnosed, we all have to learn how to focus our energy and also stay focused too, right? A lot of people can start something and, and can't stay focused. They can't hyper focus. So it's such a
Breaks are
balance.
super important.
Breaks.
Breaks are
Stephanie.
super important for that, and I encourage breaks for everybody. But especially whenever you're starting to hit that wall, don't wait until you're there. Be able to recognize, okay, I'm not, whatever I'm working on or whatever I'm studying, regardless of where you're at in your career journey, be able to recognize that and reward yourself at hitting certain checkpoints too. So being able to say, hey, I read an entire chapter. I'm going to step away and I'm going to see what all I can remember. If I can remember 5 key things, cool. I'm going to, Oreos are my guilty pleasure. So I'm gonna say, okay, I get 2 Oreos, or if I have the minis, I get 1 Oreo for each thing I can remember. So giving your brain incentives, also finding out where you get your dopamine, is also going to really help you out.
Interesting. Where you get your dopamine. Yeah, that can either harm you or help you. I feel like
Right. It has to be something
where
you
do you
can
get
step
your
away
dopamine?
from.
What a question. That's awesome. Stephanie, did you have something that you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
I think Kaitlyn and everyone else could agree that neurodivergence is an untapped resource potential in this space. There are so many of us that are actively working in healthcare that are being underutilized. They're just doing the same thing over and over again. Give us a problem you're trying to solve. We may not even know the whole full concept. Just give us an idea or something that is struggling with you. Just if you have a neurodivergent professional that you're working with and you're not at least engaging with them in conversation on just other things that don't even pertain to what is the focus, you are missing out. We don't know, we don't understand the boxes things need to be in, but oftentimes problems are solved by thinking outside of the box.
Love it.
Well,
Oh, that's
well, we
so
had
cool. Yeah.
Stephanie on last month. We talked about, like, is this a good career fit for someone with ADHD medical coding? And I want to step back even a little bit more. Just like, there are those who are watching right now, or maybe watching the recording in the future, who are considering this as a future career path. And I've been there. Like, we're talking about dopamine hits, Kaitlyn, you brought that up, but they're like, medical coding, this is my calling. And they get that rush and they're like, this is it, I am all in. But um, I think those with ADHD, sometimes to sustain that for the long haul, because the curriculum is not easy, and you're not going to always get that fulfillment in your mind that you think that you would hope for. There's a point where it becomes work, and you just got to slug it out. But I don't know, maybe we could talk about, if you guys can maybe speak to that, like, how do you balance that for those who are seeking this or considering this path? How do you say, hey, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a good idea, but and then it gets real. Any thoughts?
Yes, definitely. Um, I ended up choosing medical coding because what I saw when I was researching looked like it would fit the way I know my brain operates and what my brain likes. Because, like Kaitlyn was saying, it's not necessarily a conscious choice of whether we can focus. It's more of, does my brain like this? And if my brain decides it doesn't like something, I can try all I want. It ain't happening. And so I was afraid that I would pick a career that would not suit my brain. So I did a lot of research. And what I found was that with medical coding, you are kind of deciphering clues, finding, connecting dots, and that's all things that my brain enjoys. It wants to be challenged. It does not like easy. It doesn't like repetitive. And so, yeah, there were times when the schooling part was hard. But also, I know about myself that I'm very goal oriented. So I set goals, and that getting one goal and then being achieving that one, that was a dopamine rush for me because my brain likes hitting goals and achieving. And so for me, that kept me motivated. It's not necessarily going to be the same for everybody with ADHD because our brains are all different, and how our brains react and what gives us the dopamine is different for everybody. But for me, it's an excellent fit. And even now, I chose inpatient coding, like I talked about earlier, because it would be challenging and because I like the logic that goes into the building of PCS codes. My brain likes that order. You do this and then it's this. That's how my brain likes information. Other people don't work that way. So my love of inpatient coding and PCS may not be for everybody. But I think in general, this career, this field is a very good possibility for those with ADHD because there are so many different brain teasers, brain stimulators within the career field itself in general. So even if what hits my brain isn't for you, there's a very good possibility that some other aspect is going to be a match for your brain. So while it may not be a fit for everybody with ADHD, I think it's a career that should definitely be considered because there's a good possibility it would be a good fit.
One of the reasons that I really like medical coding is that I don't view it as a job. I 100% see it as a career. And that's something that my brain really enjoys. The fact that I will have to be learning and evolving with the sphere of medical coding constantly. And I've learned to be comfortable that this is a career, not a job, meaning, work-life balance is great and having boundaries is essential. But at the same time, I need to have something that my brain is willing to engage in when I'm not on the clock, because there are so many important facets to studying and networking and CEUs and growth, because I am starting off in a new career and it's not a job. So I would say if the main attraction is just, oh, I could work remote and work from home, oh, and I don't have to go to college, then if you're not having a deeper resonance to the all-encompassing venture that medical coding is, then I would say you need to do some more research before you try to put chains on your ADHD brain, because it might not work.
Nice. That's funny. Well, and you're new to the industry, right? As of a year or so, you said, and you come from an interesting background though for somebody with ADHD. And I wanted to touch on your yoga background because I thought that was interesting. Is that something you've used? I'm a big fan of yoga, and I mean, what little I do, I try to do a little bit every day actually because I know it's good for the flow of energy through my spinal cord. I'm like learning these things that are so basic, but is there a correlation there? Was that because of the ADHD you got into yoga, or is that, well, I mean,
I
Just curious.
100% think that it is because of it. And I needed to be in motion. I needed movement in my life, and I needed people in my life. So it was a very good fit in that way. The other thing, you know, anatomy is a huge part of being a student of yoga. And going to multiple schools of yoga, that was a central part of my education. So that was a wonderful way to kind of leverage that information into something that utilizes it constantly. So coming into medical coding, I feel like I had a little bit of a extra step that I had already completed. So it was a nice way to start, but not feel like I'm right at the starting line.
Yeah, it's like you know how the anatomy works, but from an esoteric or an exoteric, well, actually both, I guess, whatever, just at a different perspective than like a medical professional would approach it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
And
it just adds to what you can, yeah, offer.
one of my friends transitioned from massage therapy, and she had a really great transition from massage therapy to medical coding too, for similar reasons. Understanding healing, understanding the flow of energy in the body, understanding anatomy, all of those things translate into understanding medical processes, pathophysiology, just all of that information
Yeah,
absolutely comes across.
cool. I love that. Yeah. So we've talked a bit. We kind of heard, I wish we had more time. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, we've got 12 minutes left. And I want to talk about some strategies for people who are either wanting to get into this industry and what's helped you, or just life strategies having ADHD or working with that, and what are your favorite things, or what are some things to look out for, or what's worked for you. Let's talk about that for the rest of the time that we have for
So,
anybody.
I was late in life diagnosed, so I'll start there. So it took me a long time to figure out how to work with my brain. Um, I'll be honest, when I was first diagnosed, I was through a bottle of pills and said, "Here, this should help," without much more information on why my brain processed things differently. Um, I had a supervisor who was very in tune with me, and she actually helped me create a time study, because there were times where um, I would go down rabbit holes because I would be researching something and then I would see a word and it would trigger a completely different thought. And so I would go down all of these rabbit holes and completely lose where I was to begin with. And so she helped me create a time study so that way I could see exactly where I was spending all of my time. So if I was working on one project, then okay, how much should I be working on that on what day? If I'm working too much on it, why? What's throwing me off, versus if I need to spend more time on it. Okay, if I need to spend more time here, where can I cut time down out, elsewhere? So I'm a huge fan of time studies. I got this little weekly calendar on Amazon, and it breaks down all of the tasks I have to do each day. And then it has a separate column on the side, and it has high priority, low priority, and follow up. And so I fill that out every single week just to stay on top of everything that I need to look at. And then I can also see, okay, I didn't finish that this week. I'm going to carry that over to this week and make sure it's on my top priority list. So I'm a huge fan of lists. I like to check things off. That's what my brain likes. So things like that have really helped me professionally.
Nice. For those of you listening only, Stephanie just held up her big to-do list in front of the camera.
Do now, do later. Like, what is the
Do
fire
now,
at
do
the
later.
moment? And then what are fires that may not need to be put out at the present moment?
Yeah, all about prioritizing, right? So what other strategies or things have you come across or use? Stephanie, you mentioned alarms or something like that, right?
Well,
You
yeah, like
to
Google
get notified by
Calendar,
something.
alarms, even when you're working, like something that I've been implementing working at Optum, risk adjustment coding, is the little focus timer. that computers have. You could put a focus timer, and right now I'm working on priority charts, but they're like really long charts, and they're like, but you need to do some little charts in time, but this, like, do this for a couple hours and then do a couple little charts. So I'm setting that up, and if once I hit the 2 hour mark, I'm pausing where I'm at that giant chart and then going and trying to do a couple little charts just to make it at least look like I'm doing something throughout the day, because those charts can take uh, a long time. But Google Calendars with the reminders, something that I tell my kids, if it's important to you, you're going to make sure you remind yourself, even if it's on a Google Calendar, if it's on a reminder. We have a family calendar, and just because they accept it doesn't mean that they're going to set the notifications for it. So I'm reminding them, well, if this is really important to you, make sure you're setting up the reminders for yourself. Also, tools and things. Reach out to, whether you're going to school, whether you're going to school at the AAPC and you need extra support, reach out to the accommodations department. If you're going to college, search out for accommodations department and support. I didn't know about learning accommodations or testing accommodations until I was in college and was struggling, and they were like, these are things that can help you. And I'm like, they are? Wait, hold on. I fit in that box? Because you think about accommodations and you're like, well, I don't need a cane or a wheelchair or the light on the crosswalk to chirp to make noises for me to feel that sense. Like, how do we fit in this kind of environment? So leaning on those kind of resources or reaching out. Do not be afraid to acknowledge that you need this support, because that is someone, Natasha Timberlake said, pigeonhole. Don't pigeonhole yourself because you are afraid to seek support. Don't pigeonhole yourself because you think that you shouldn't need the support. Yeah, we can all think that way, that we shouldn't need this. Like, no one else needs this. Why do we need this? And the reality is it doesn't change the fact that we still need support. Getting that support can be the biggest difference in being successful in whatever it is that you're doing. Even if it's the support of someone saying, all right, you have all these fires, who can you pass some of these to? Like, who else has a fire extinguisher on hand that can handle some of this?
Does anybody else that's not on fire have a fire extinguisher on hand to help? That's so funny. I mean, and you're on fire yourself too, so it's
So I use the timers too. If speaking of Steffi, I use the timers also if I'm researching something, and so I'll set myself like a 5 or 10 minute, and then once I hit that timer, I go back and I'm like, okay, am I still where I should be? If not, okay, I go backwards until I'm back on track again, and then I restart my timer again, just so I don't get too far into something. I can always back out of it. And I've noticed that in conversations, I'll go from one place straight to another one because of the dots that connected in my head, and it makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense to whoever I'm talking
Context.
to. So I have to do this a lot with my husband. We'll be talking about something, and he'll go, okay, I know that there's a process that you went through in your head, and this makes sense, but I need you to explain that to me. So anyone neurodivergent who has a significant other that's neurotypical, it's a wild ride. It's so much fun. In the workplace, it's also very interesting.
yeah. Well, you even bring up the differences between our biology and masculine energy and cognition and feminine cognition, and the way we think about things it's different. We are wired differently at so many different levels, and it's so cool. But learning to work with each other, that, even our partners that may have these things, but that's cool that he was able to just say, hey, can you and we process things slower than you guys. Let's just be honest, okay? We're a little bit slower to process emotions, especially. It just, takes us a minute. So we appreciate hey, back up and explain this to me, how you got from point A to point Z, because I'm still looking at B thinking, what do we do next? So
Men can compartmentalize things better than women can. And that is something that I'm super envious of. Like, my husband can go from one thing and then it's no longer a thing. And he's on another thing. And I'm still trying to figure out how that is supposed to be accomplished, but that's not even the problem anymore.
Yeah, or to be able to just, yeah, turn, like, I'll save that for later. And it's literally saved for later. Not feeling it, not touching it, whatever. Yeah, all these different strengths or things that we have that I think we're meant to really kind of develop them all within ourselves and balance them all. And that's why we're together. So, yeah. Any other comments or tools or things? Jessica,
Yeah.
what have you found that's helped you? Or Rivka, yeah. Either one.
I want to do all the things. I can easily branch off into 10 places all at the same time. I have to ground myself, and I have to remember that while I might be capable of achieving anything or doing everything, I only have so many spoons. There's only 24 hours in the day. So I have to be cognizant and make choices about where I'm going to put my energy for what I'm going to accomplish in any given day. And I have a tendency towards perfectionism. That's another thing that's really hard for me to deal with. I struggle with it. But I just think that it's very important to understand in something like medical coding, that things might get out of balance. There's parts of me that are inherently out of balance. And sometimes I lean into that a little bit, and that's okay. It's okay to do that. Balance is something we can strive for. But at the same time, if we're needing to hyper focus because that's where our energy is, go for it. And everything's going to be okay. And we're here to lift you up. The medical coding community is so incredibly helpful. So reach out.
Love that. Thanks,
I
Jessica.
know
What
our
about
time
you?
is, yeah, our time is almost gone. So I'll just mention a couple of things that
Mhm.
help me. I have very bad time blindness. I do not know how much time has elapsed. And so they've mentioned timers, and I use that for the end of my work or end of my lunch. When I'm getting to lunchtime, I have a timer set for 10 minutes before, because that lets me know, hey, you need to wrap up what you're doing. You've got 10 minutes left. And so I have that for 10 minutes before lunch starts, and then 10 minutes before work ends. And then as far as charts, it can be easy to spend too much time on a chart. And once I start a chart, I have no idea when I started it or how long I've been working on it. So I have a spreadsheet where I love spreadsheets, but I have a spreadsheet where I keep some notes relating to charts. And for every single chart, I put my start time. That way, if I'm like, how long have I been working on this? I can look at there, because I have no idea when I started if I didn't write that down. And that has saved my butt a few times. I'm like, whoops, I got to get moving. I've been spending too long on this. So one other thing is music. I need to focus, but also some ADHD brains have like two tracks. And if you're not occupying them both, then you're that other track, even though I'm focusing on my chart, that other track is getting bored and wanting to do something else. So putting on some music in the background, something that's not distracting. For me, I like musicals or Studio Ghibli music. It doesn't distract me, but it occupies that second track, so it doesn't try to go wandering off. And this main track for the charts can be fully engaged instead of being pulled off with that second one. So that's a couple of strategies I use.
Love it. And what
Really,
a
really
great,
good strategies. Really good.
yeah, all good strategies. What a great conversation too. And what a great way to kind of close it up, you know. I love music, big fan. So I'm gonna close this with singing you all a song. Just kidding. That's my ADHD, right? I'm thinking I want to go sing somewhere. Anyway, this has been so fun. And really, if you are listening and you're unsure if medical coding is a fit for you because of whatever diagnosis or whatever thing that you have that you think might be some sort of weakness, well, I'm here to tell you, and these ladies are here to prove to you that, and sorry if I said ladies, I should have said these women here are here to prove, these people here are here to prove, I don't know how to say these
You're
things,
fine. It's
that it's
fine.
possible.
Oh,
And that
with
what you
us,
have,
we hear so many different things that often you can say something negative. We're going to let it roll off our shoulders like it never happened because the energy it takes for us to react negatively to something negative is more than the spoons we're willing to give.
See, awesome. The ability to just let things go because there's only so much you can do. Love it. But yeah, there is a place for you here, and yeah, and your family. So appreciate the four of you, Revka, Kaitlyn, Jessica, Stephanie, and Alex. Just having this conversation. I'm sure we could talk much longer, and maybe we will at some point. Maybe we'll do a part two. This has been really good. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for
Well,
having
thank you
us.
for having
Appreciate it.
us.
And we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks,
everyone.
you guys.